Armor of simple Roman legionary. Hardness, 270 Vickers units. Prince's armor 1,000 years later, 164 units. Modern steel nail stronger than princely chainmail. How did civilization lose what seemed unshakable? And main thing, why did this happen in one generation? Today, you'll learn 3 shocking facts. 1. Why legionary in Trajan's time wore armor cleaner and stronger than 12th century prince. And what is multi-layer welding that disappeared for 900 years? 2. How much dirt was in prince's metal versus Roman soldiers, and how this difference decided who survives in battle and who doesn't. 3. What happened the day last Roman city fell, and why knowledge died in one generation? Weapons workshop on border with Germania, 1st century AD. Air thick, smells of red-hot metal and sweat. Here's no place for alchemy, only cold calculation. Syrian blacksmith takes 2 strips. His ancestors worked iron for centuries. One strip soft, low carbon content. Other hard, carburized. He doesn't know words metallography or slag content, but he knows main thing. Soft alloy absorbs impact, hard one holds edge. He heats them in forge to yellow glow, lays one on another and begins striking. Not chaotically, rhythmically. Hammer after hammer. This isn't just forging. This is forge welding. 2 materials different in properties become one whole, forming bimetallic plate. Many Larica segmentata type armors had not 1 but 2 or even 3 such layers. Upper hard one meets enemy blade. Middle elastic one dampens strike energy, preventing plate from cracking. Inner softest one adjoins tunic. It doesn't wound a legionary's body during sharp movements. This is engineering solution ahead of its time by 1,500 years. Under microscope, this looks even more impressive. Slag content, non-metallic impurities, dirt that makes steel brittle. In Roman armor, often less than 0.5%, and sometimes absent completely. This is purity level mass production in Europe will reach only in Renaissance. Remember, 0.5% slag in Roman armor. Now, next number. In 12th century prints, 5%. 10 times dirtier. In a minute, you'll see what this meant for his life. Let's compare weight categories. 9 kilograms Roman armor versus 15 kilograms knightly chainmail. Legionary wore weight of laptop. Knight, weight of adult dog. Each armor segment, from shoulder plates to waist ones, fitted with minimal tolerances. Legionary could fall, roll, and instantly stand in formation. His armor weighed about 9 kilograms, almost twice less than later knight's chainmail, but protected from stabbing and slashing strikes incomparably better. Hardness of average Roman armor, 240 to 270 Vickers units. Remember these numbers. We'll return to them when we find ourselves in dirty 10th century. There, even princes will wear what this Syrian blacksmith would send to remelting without thinking, because he made weapons for empire, not amulets for barbarians. Roman armor, 270 units hardness, 9 kilograms weight, 0.5% slag. And what did medieval princes wear? What this Syrian blacksmith would send to remelting without hesitation. Numbers will shock you now. Move to 10th century. Prague. Prague Castle. Treasury of St. Vitus Cathedral. Here stored relic. Chainmail attributed to St. Wenceslaus. Golden rivets. Perfect weave. Symbol of power. Seems this is peak of armorer's art, but it's illusion. Alloy of this princely chainmail monstrously dirty. Up to 5% of its volume is slag. Not impurities, but garbage. Imagine 5% of parts in your car engine replaced with pressed dirt. How long will it work? Here are numbers. Hardness of this chainmail, average 164 Vickers units. For comparison, hardness of modern steel nail about 300 units. And Roman armor had 240 to 270 units. Modern steel nail stronger than princely armor. Think about that. A nail. Prince paid fortune for this chainmail, equivalent of 3 villages with their lands and people, and got product worse than ordinary nail you hammer into wall. Simple calculation shows armor of ordinary legionary was almost twice as strong as medieval prince's armor. Stop. You just heard about Prince. But here's what no one says. All elite warriors wore this armor for 700 years. 700 years in armor worse than Roman. Scale of catastrophe will become clear now. And this is elite's armor. What to say about common warriors? For almost 700 years after Rome's fall, technology degraded. Everything simplified. Instead of complex multi-layer welding, simple iron. Instead of careful forging to densify structure, quick riveting of rings. Fast, cheap, and deadly dangerous. Now imagine scene not from battle, but from life. Blacksmith tries to repair this very princely chainmail. He heats damaged section to straighten links. But instead of becoming plastic, alloy simply crumbles under hammer. These 5% of dirt are microscopic fracture lines. When heated and struck, they work like perforation on paper, making rings burst. What should be strong tears from load. Strike that Roman segmentata would simply deflect becomes fatal for medieval knight. But how could this even happen? How can you lose technology carved in steel? Now you'll see death of knowledge in real time. How can you lose what's carved in steel? Very simply, knowledge doesn't live in iron, it lives in people, and it dies with them. Imagine 450 AD, Gaul, State Weapons Workshop, Fabrica. 10 years ago, work boiled here. Hundreds of people, rhythmic hammer strikes, deliveries of best Norican iron by order from Rome. Now, silence. Master armorer looks at cooling forge. His father taught him art of multi-layer welding. His grandfather founded this workshop. He should have passed knowledge to son, but son died in raid year ago. Younger apprentices scattered as soon as they stopped paying wages. No one to pass secrets to. No one knows exact heating temperatures anymore. No one remembers proportions of soft and hard material. No one counts number of strikes for quality welding. This wasn't one day. This was slow collapse. First, convoys with ore from Spain stopped coming. Then tin from Britain. Workshops switched to local bog iron, dirty, brittle. Then orders from legions stopped coming, because legions no longer existed. Empire, huge mechanism that ensured this most complex production chain, from mine to soldier, collapsed. And with it disappeared system of transmitting mastery. Behind wall, screams. Barbarians. Master looks at his hands that remember how to make perfect steel. His skill will die with him. His grandchildren will wear armor of dirt. He is last. Fire in his forge went out, and this darkness enveloped military technologies of Europe for many centuries. And price of this oblivion? It's measured not in money, it's measured in lives. What's price of this lost mastery? It's measured not in money, it's measured in survival chances. Battle of Hastings, 1066. Anglo-Saxon infantry and Norman knights, all in chainmail. Armor saves from glancing arrow strikes. But here's direct sword blow, hits shoulder. And here difference in quality manifests. Rings from dirty alloy riddled with slag inclusion lines can't withstand pressure. Rivet bursts, links tear. Hole forms into which point falls. Where quality Roman armor with its purity would have held, this one betrays its owner. And you know what's most terrible? This warrior believed he was protected. He went into battle with confidence. He entrusted his life to this armor. And armor betrayed him because technology was lost 600 years ago. Pierced armor decided his fate, not from enemy superiority, from ignorance of his time. Warrior thought he was protected. Pierced armor that should have saved him decided his fate. And here's outcome. Medieval armor protected, but it protected worse than it could. Each percent of slag, each 50 units of lost hardness, situations where Roman legionary would survive and medieval warrior might not return. This isn't helplessness. This is unreliability. You don't know if your armor will withstand next strike or burst, betraying you. Romans minimized this randomness with technologies. Medieval period lost these technologies, and price was measured in lives of those who trusted armor that was worse than 1,000 years ago. 900 years later, Europe finally caught up with Rome, and then rolled back again. Final paradox.
Centuries passed. Barbarian kingdoms, Viking Age, Crusades. All this time, Europe's best knights wore armor inferior to standard of ordinary Roman legionary. Only in 14th century, almost 900 years after Western Roman Empire's fall, breakthrough emerged. In workshops of Milan and Augsburg, blacksmiths began experimenting. Water hammers driven by river power allowed forging products better, knocking slag out. Furnace temperature became higher. Alloys began turning out cleaner. Rich feudal lord orders new armor. Master hardens plates, lowering red-hot steel into oil, achieving needed hardness. Quality of these custom armors finally compares with what Romans made in mass. But this is armor for 1%, for kings and grand dukes. Average infantryman still wears that same dirty chainmail. 15th to 16th centuries, Gothic and Maximilian plate armor, works of art. Hardness of their plates reached 350 to 400 units, higher than Romans. Triumph? Not quite. With appearance of firearms, this hardness played cruel joke. Hardened steel was brittle as glass. It couldn't absorb bullet energy and shattered into fragments. Fragments, together with lead, flew into body, inflicting terrible wounds. Circle closed. Seeking protection from bullets, armorers began making armor thicker and softer, and mass cuirasses of 17th century in quality barely exceeded level of that very lorica segmentata. Remember Prince with chainmail for 3 villages? Pierced armor decided his fate, in armor worse than Roman. His great-grandson in 15th century wore armor finally better than Rome's, and his great-great-grandson in 17th century rolled back again. Cycle that explains civilization's fragility. So, almost 1,000 years of technological regression. History of armor isn't ascent from primitive to perfection. It's story of how civilization can lose what seemed unshakable. Roman Empire mass-produced armor whose quality was surpassed in mass only 900 years later, and then lost again. This story isn't about iron. It's about how fragile any knowledge is. It can be erased in one generation if systems supporting it collapses, logistics, economics, state. We're used to thinking progress is irreversible. It's not. Next time you see a knight in shining armor in movie, ask yourself, is he really protected better than simple legionary standing on Hadrian's wall? Next question, how did Rome train legionaries who wore this armor? Their story is even crazier. Gladiator schools for soldiers, 40% mortality, and methodology modern special forces copy. Video comes out Friday. Subscribe and write in comments which Roman technology to analyze next, siege engines or legionary training. Your choice will decide what comes next. And write which number from this video shocked you most. 164 units of Prince's armor? Or 5% slag in elite chainmail?